Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and I'm joined now with none other than David Haye. David, it's nice to see you.
Likewise, it's been a while.
Wow, look at you. You're all like, all types of energy.
I had a double espresso earlier, so I might drift through this interview.
You know, I found it very interesting that when I'm observing you and Chisora on stage, you two kind of just bantering back and forth, having good energy. It's a bit of a change from what we're used to.
Yeah, you know, it's been a little while now that we've been working with each other, and you know, when you're in close proximity of anybody, you kind of gel it. You got in the same sort of zone, the same vibe. And he's an easy-go-lucky guy, as I am, and a lot of the time there's a lot of laughing, a lot of jokes, but he's got some serious work to do on Saturday. You know, Artur Szpilka is a real threat, and a particular style that wouldn't ordinarily gel nicely with his style. We saw last time out against Sena Gashi. You know, Gashi turned southpaw, and it was a bit of a stalemate. Nothing really happened. And you know, Dave Caldwell, his coach, we've really had to drill into him how to overcome the southpaw stance, and not only overcome the southpaw stance, be comfortable against southpaws coming at you, moving away from you, and the sharp punches. So he's had some good sparring partners. He's adapted over the months. He's known this fight's been happening for a while now. His last fight was against someone who was in the southpaw stance. So, you know, if there's ever an opportunity for him to really make a mark, and there's a big carrot been dangled of, you know, Joseph Parker. That fight is a huge fight later on in the year that's been presenting himself. You know, Parker had his fight against Leopai and did well, and it's Derek's opportunity now to do his part. If he can get through this fight, then we're looking at a huge fight with Joseph Parker, which I think the fans will love to see. But you know, it's horrible to look too far into the future when you've got someone as tricky and as well established and you know, credible as Artur Szpilka. You know, he's in shape. I saw him. He's rock solid. He's a good amateur pedigree. You know, solid record. You know, he was doing great against Deontay Wilder for the heavyweight championship until he walked onto that one of the most monstrous right hands I've ever seen. You know, that would have knocked over an elephant. That right hand from Wilder was a peach. With little 10-ounce gloves, there's not much could have been done there. But up until that point, he was doing well. He'd been hit and hurt, and he came back and was asking some questions of Wilder. You know, Wilder answered them pretty conclusively. But it shows the type of level this guy's at. Yeah. And you know, Derek has aspirations of, you know, challenging and winning world titles. So Artur Szpilka, you know, needs to get beaten, and he's going to have to go through an uncomfortable stage early to use his superior heart, his will, his physical strength to try and grind down Szpilka. As he said there, if it turns into a boxing match, he's no master boxer. You know, he's no Pernell Whitaker, if you will, the late great Pernell Whitaker. That's not his style. He's a come forward, all action type of fighter. So as much as if he can get Artur Szpilka in a shootout, his chances of winning go way up. If he stands out at long range and gets picked off with a jab, it's a very difficult fight to win. He knows that, and he knows you've got to kind of go through the horrible part to win it. So it's going to be a fight, no matter what happens, is going to be uncomfortable. And I think he's got his head around that. Training's been uncomfortable, and he's grinding and he's ground through that, and he's in a good place. And I'm looking forward to Saturday night. The fans are going to get a treat with this fight. The whole card is great. You know, the Dave Allen, you know, Price fight is a great one. It's you know, I'm not sure. You know, but I've been in the game for a long time. You know, I've sparred with Price in the past. You know, I've known Allen. I've watched him come through. And you know, although on paper you go with the pedigree, you know, the Olympian, the guy who's, you know, physically superior, but then again, Allen, he's got that little something in there. He's got that little spark, and he seems to realise he's got that little something special. And you don't quite know. So on paper, I understand why Price is a favourite, but you can never write Allen off, particularly if he's motivated.
Right. I was on tour with Tyson Fury just about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him that before he hangs up the gloves, is there anybody in particular that he would want to fight? And he actually mentioned that he would love to do another fight with Derek Chisora. Is that something that you guys would entertain at this point?
Listen, Tyson Fury is the lineal champion. He's the guy who beat Vladimir Klitschko when Vladimir Klitschko had all the belts. All the other champions have fought for vacant titles at some stage, or the person they beat won a vacant title. So there's not much lineage to their belts, not much history to the belts that they've won. So even without the title fact, you know, Tyson Fury has beaten Derek Chisora conclusively on 2 occasions. I don't believe Derek was in the right frame of mind for those 2 fights. And so that's something to think about in the future. But yeah, Derek will fight anybody. He said that from day dot. And if that fight presents itself at some way, shape or form, of course he'll take it with both hands.
It was also particularly interesting to see you and Tyson sitting there having a conversation too. You guys seem to have all grown up, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Was it 2013 or so? It was a while back where we were scheduled to fight. Yeah, we were best of buddies. So we haven't really. It's strange, He's probably one of the few guys in the industry who we haven't really crossed paths on many occasions. I think that was the first time I crossed paths with him for years and years. Although I've commentated at his fights and been in shows, we've never really been in close proximity with each other. And it was nice. It was nice to shake his hand and to congratulate him on all the success he's had. Since the time where we didn't quite get it on. And I think he realizes, I had stuff happen. I got injured and the fight couldn't happen because there was stuff that happened to me personally that there was nothing I could do with.
Yeah.
Now, as he's a bit old, he's 30 years age. He had stuff happen to him that put him out of the game for a few years that he had no chance of. There were fighters that he was scheduled to fight that got cancelled. No fault of his own, just because life gets in the way sometimes. So I think now that he realises, you didn't really, I can't really blame you because I've kind of been through the same thing. We all learn, we all get older, we all grow up. And, he seemed like a lot more mature. He seemed like he seemed like an experienced, fighter who's a champion. And it's nice to see him, get the recognition and get the support from the fans. We was at the O2 Arena, and everybody sees him as the champ. Everybody was clapping, congratulating him, and it was nice to see.
Lastly, I want to ask you. Obviously, the winner of White versus Rivas is going to get a shot at the WBC title now that this is for the WBC interim.
I've heard that same thing said many times. Every time Dylan White fights, I hear this is the fight, the next one's going to be for the title, and then it doesn't happen. He's fought for he's the interim champion, he was the #1 contender, he's the manager. I keep hearing that, and
so do you question it? Do you question that it may not happen?
I don't know. It hasn't happened so far. If you want to know what's going to happen in the future, look into the past. And he's fought these final eliminators multiple times, and the opportunity for some reason doesn't present itself for him. It doesn't seem fair. It seems like he's done everything asked of him, and that shot hasn't come. But at some stage, he has to get that. He has to get that title shot. But listen, we can't be talking about titles. This Oscar Rivas is a real fighter. This guy is legit. This guy is probably one of the most underrated fighters in the heavyweight division, full stop.
Would you say that he's as underrated as Andy Ruiz was going into the fight against Joshua?
About the same. They're about. But just remember, Rivas beat Andy Ruiz Jr. in the amateurs. He beat him quite conclusively. So not only is he a very good professional, an undefeated professional, he's also a very good, well-established international amateur, representing Colombia. He's a very good fighter. I saw him for the first time in the flesh. This guy is rock solid. He looks like a prime Mike Tyson. Everyone thinks I'm exaggerating. He looks like a prime Mike Tyson. He puts his punches together well, and his victory over Bryant Jennings was a fantastic one. He got, it was a tough fight. It was a close fight. In that last round, he stepped the gears up and closed the show, and that's what good fighters do. They could be behind on points, but as long as before that final 12-round bell rings, you find a way to win. That's the difference between the fighters who are going to make it and fighters who just don't quite make it. And when he needed that victory against a very tough, very durable, a guy who went 12 rounds with Vladimir Klitschko. I sparred with Bryant Jennings, Chisora has sparred with Chisora. I know that Bryant Jennings is world class. He's a very, very, you saw him the other night against Joe Joyce, hurt Joe Joyce early and went the full 12 rounds. So this guy's legit. This guy stopped him. So for anyone who's saying, I've never heard this guy, he can't be that good, you've got that wrong. This guy is a legitimate threat. And I believe one of the toughest fights Dylan White's ever fought. He fought Anthony Joshua. This is a different type of fight. This isn't a long-range fight. This is an up-close battle. And if you go back and watch Chisora 2 versus White, he didn't like that pressure. It didn't look like he was comfortable with that pressure, and he was losing those rounds when Chisora was putting the heat on him. That's what this guy does, and he does it in a very effective way. He doesn't take many clean shots. He rolls a lot. I think this is a very, very tough fight. But if anyone can pull off a fight against the likes of Rivas is someone like Dylan White, who's continuously risen to the challenge. Every time, I remember before he fought Joseph Parker, I'm like, I'm not sure if Joseph Parker's the right guy for him. You know, Joseph Parker, he can really fight. What does he do? He wins the fight.
Yeah.
You know, and he keeps stepping up the game. The tougher the opponent, the more he raises his game. And I just think this is a great fight, a fight that Dylan White should win on points. But if there's a stoppage early, I'm looking at Rivas to cause a tremendous upset. But Dylan needs to keep this guy at arm's length. He needs to use his superior boxing ability. He's much physically bigger. He's got longer arms. His right uppercut's going to really need to play. I think Spencer Fearing was talking to me about that right uppercut, and he was right. That needs to come into play. As the guy pressures you, he needs to throw that right uppercut up the middle and keep this guy at bay and punish him at long range. And when he gets close, time up. Don't fight inside. Time up, walk him back. You know, it's a great fight. Though. I'm really excited.
All right, David, well, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it, and I guess we'll see what happens come fight night. I mean, they'll definitely be the winner will go on to see either Fury or Wilder, which should be an exciting fight next year.
It's a huge carrot for both fighters, so you're going to get it's a hell of a fight. It really is.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye, fight fans.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else